I don't know if you guys know this, but there is actually 72 genders now, which means that men are better than 71 genders. Boys, boys, boys! Yeah, you're right. Carried away. Carried away. I actually went to a bar that had gender-neutral washrooms, and it's kind of weird because I'm just like taking a shit in a girl's washroom. And there's like these 20-year-old girls looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is your idea, 20-year-old girls. Pin this on me, you know? But then I came out and I was telling my buddy it was kind of weird, and he goes, dude, this place doesn't have gender-neutral washrooms. You just took a shit in the girl's washroom, and everyone's talking about it. Ooh, I guess I'm a little more progressive than you. I have a friend who his girlfriend came out of the closet. She said she's gender fluid, which means half the time she's a girl and half the time he's a guy, which means my buddy's gay half the time. Which sucks because she pays the rent and he's like, oh, do I get a job or do I have a boyfriend? Like, it's a complicated dilemma he's in. I don't know how it works. Like, can they switch mid-sex? Like, he's having sex with her and it's like a full moon or wherever it happens. And he's giving it to her and she's just like, give me a beer! Like, well, I guess it's jail rules tonight. Ho, ho, ho. When she does the Tim Allen grunts, the transition is complete. That's how you know. That's the only way to know.
I can no longer hear the words gender fluid and not think of a werewolf thanks to this video.
I feel like the stuff off the field is like the reason I'm, here on this planet. That feels like my life's work and something that just feels like breathing to me. So I love that work. I love being able to leverage this amazing platform and use that to, in some way make the world a better place.
Oh, shut up. Honestly.
Good for her.
You're good for her. You kick a round little ball around. That's it. Nobody wants to see you make the world a better place. And let me tell you what she means by this stuff off the pitch. Is that now she's retired, now she says she wants to see biological males who've transitioned to be trans women play in the women's national soccer team. Not while she was playing herself, so they couldn't take her place, these biological males, but now she'd be quite happy for that to happen. In fact, she wants it to happen. If that's what your contribution is to women's rights, because she's basically saying, look at me, I did all this stuff for women's rights. Actually, Miss Rapinoe, what you've done, you've left with a little sting in the tail, is that now, having fought for women's rights, for pay parity and so on, which I totally applaud you for, now you've left endorsing something that would destroy women's rights to fairness and equality. That is your legacy. Anyone got a thought?
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd to suggest, the reason that she's left at this point is because her life has become so difficult as she's tried to campaign for fairness and equality for trans women in sport. Even as she's, fought for a very, very long time to get through all of these measures that you've just said have been really, really important. We've reached the stage where the political debate about trans people has become so toxic that she feels like she has to step down in order to be a full-time campaigner.
Erling Haaland says, I'm a woman. He can play in the women's team? The number of trans
people that are going to be in this position. It's not
hang on. Very important question. Grace, can Erling Haaland, if he says, I now identify as a woman, play in the Norwegian national women's team?
City.
Massive.
He's the best striker in the world. He's
City,
6'4".
Yeah.
He's a massive beast. He scores goals every 10 seconds in the men's game. Are you happy?
If he suddenly decided to become trans, to go through all of the horror...
Actually, you don't have to go through anything.
Just self-ID.
No, you go through nothing.
He self-identifies as trans. He deals with all of the pushback on social media, the death threats, everything that he's going to get as a result of that, and then says, I want to become a woman, I want to identify as a woman. Then, the team would be able to legitimately make a decision as to whether or not that was the right person.
That is the Megan Rapinoe position right there. You are our Megan Rapinoe. You've just destroyed...
You're saying that I'm an international women's soccer player?
No, I'm saying you're relatively irritating, taking a position which is always wrong.
The feeling is mutual.
And on this one, you have just endorsed Erling Haaland playing women's football, which of course would destroy women's football. Congratulations. Women's rights nil.
I didn't.
But look,
I didn't know who Erling Haaland is. I didn't know the power to destroy women's football.
Biological sex matters, right?
Yeah.
And men born as men shouldn't be playing women's sport. rapino free speech. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
She's allowed to
Nothing.
be. She's allowed to
And
be.
by the way, nothing wrong with me exercising my right to free speech to say it's complete, a bit like Grace's position on Erling Haaland, who she only just...
If Holland says he is a woman, you don't need 11 people in one team. Put a goalkeeper and Holland on one team, and you get the Women's Cup.
Nobody needs you to advocate for how difficult it is to use gender-neutral pronouns. Nobody said that the gender binary was easy. These are not my preferred pronouns. These are my pronouns. You will use them, or you will not refer to me. At all.
Just don't refer
If
to
you
her.
misgender.
I'm good with that.
Well, it's just, we shall no longer refer to you at all.
Sounds good.
I would absolutely refuse to refer to this woman here, who's clearly a woman, as a they, because for me that would be imposing an ideological political system. Because she is. If everybody watching this programme can see that she is a woman.
The idea that you're saying that if this person chooses to say that they are they, that you can't engage with that because of your belief system. We live in a culture where lots of people have lots of different beliefs, as is very, very clear on today's show. We cannot say, I have this belief system, so therefore I'm going to impose it on everyone. In this, you can't do that. Like, she has a particular... They have a particular...
In one part of the world, people are dying from wars, and in the other, everybody is playing with their genitals.
I won't get fucked over. But we had an HR meeting, and they said if a person comes in this building and they want to be called anything, you have to respect what that is. We don't give a fuck if they say they want to be a balloon. If you don't call them a fucking balloon, you're fucking fired. Right? So now they're starting to implement this in corporate businesses. So and in schools. So if I go to a school and I'm a teacher, if I was a teacher, I quit. If you go to a school and the teachers and the kids say, "Hi, Miss Taylor, I'm a balloon today," she gotta fucking go around and act like he a balloon all fucking day? This is stupid.
So
you're opening Pandora's box, and I'm telling you, when that motherfucker open all the way up, everybody in trouble.
I still can't believe this is a conversation we must have.
Oh no. I don't know if I was clear the first time when I said it, so I'll be clear again this time. Okay. My gender is... And my pronouns are...
I mean, okay. 100% fed up with this crap. We need to find the people responsible for creating these sociopaths.
Sam Smith, he, they, them, she, whatever he currently calls himself, she does, they
Yes.
whatever they... You see, I can't call one person they. I have a problem with that. There's only one of them.
Because you can't get your head around it.
They can't either because they keep changing
incorrect.
their minds what they are.
No, it's not their problem. It's your problem.
Well, if I said my pronoun was hottest man alive, if that was my genuine pronoun, would you feel obliged to call me that every day? Hey, hottest man alive? No, you wouldn't, would you? No. So, in other words, it all depends who decides what they want to be called. Why do we have to call Sam Smith they?
Because we're respecting
So
their
why don't you respect
choice.
me? That's my choice.
When do I have to
it's
call
my
you?
choice.
When do I have to call you?
I want to be called hottest man alive.
Hottest man alive.
Yes,
all the time.
That is my choice, and I demand you respect it.
He's obviously confused. I'm not sure he would agree with you as defining him as confused.
You wouldn't, obviously.
What do you mean he?
Them, they,
Hey, Paula,
she.
hang on. You just misgendered Sam Smith.
Sam Smith does not need to acknowledge his gender preference. He needs a psychiatrist.
So I identify as non-binary and trans at the same time. I believe non-binary is under the trans umbrella. I'm neither, I am both, I am beyond.
I completely reject how non-binary people specifically have injected themselves into the trans label. I am a transsexual. There's a medical basis for that. There's a scientific basis for that. And for non-binary, it's really not the case. I think that non-binary is more of a political term than anything else, which is why I've never met a non-binary Republican, non-binary Libertarian. It's clearly an invention of the left.
There is so much variance. You are not a trans woman of color. You are not a poor trans woman. You have different experiences as a trans person.
Yeah, everything's nuanced, but at the end of the day, there's a very fine line between someone who's a transsexual.
You don't know my life. You don't know my experiences with gender dysphoria.
We don't know each other's life. I'm not saying that. Like, you're not trans. Like, there's a medical definition of being a transsexual.
I'm going to stop you. Jamie, how are you doing?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Do you feel like talking? You don't have to.
You're not qualified to debate if you have to get an emotional check-in during a debate.
When people sometimes become politicized is when they realize that no matter what they do in the world, there will be people who will continue to attack them on racist grounds, on gender and sexual violence grounds, and that's why people start to fight back, and that's why people object.
And your attempts to regulate my language use, and
I don't care about your language use. I care about the safety of the people who are being harmed.
I know people who make your kinds of arguments are always concerned with other people's safety.
I'm concerned with my own safety. Just so that people are aware, my physical, emotional life and livelihood is at risk from being here. And that's not true of everyone.
In comparison to mine, say.
I don't know about yours because I don't live your life.
You know perfectly well about mine.
I do know that you have tenure and that.
You can't legally protect people from being offended. The bald guy is a product of overprotective parents.
Many people ask me, how do you use they, them pronouns for a singular person? Well, it's really easy. All you have to do is use it the same way that you would talk about a group of people. So, for example, I, Addison, use they, them pronouns. In that case, you talk about me like this. I know Addison. They are amazing. Now, a fun fact about they, them pronouns is that they've been used in a singular context for centuries. Even going back to Shakespearean times, there's actual documentation and literature using they and them in singular contexts. Our language is constantly changing and adapting. We're evolving to find new terms and language to self-identify. So get with the times. Don't be an asshole.
I just sometimes think that we have to hit the reset button on humanity and start over. I also have this strange urge to meet everyone's parents. Like, I just want to know who raised him. Are they? Who raised them?
Although I was born visible, I now identify as invisible. I'm a trans parent. My pronouns are where-who.
Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Is a biological female.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? You know, cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, but maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not myself.
You used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right. So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people who...
That describes what?
People who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own. Okay. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently.
I never thought that one day I'd be watching a dude with a beard arguing with another dude with a beard about being a woman.
I'm not into all the other bullshit. I think...
What other bullshit?
The they and them.
Yeah.
And all that extra shit that we added during the pandemic because everyone was so bored on their fucking houses. They just started to make up more shit and more shit.
More stuff?
Yeah. That's where the conservatives like me because I'm just real.
Yeah, you do have a conservative vibe to you.
You're not them. You're trans, you're male or you're female.
And you're standing on that.
Get so mad when I say that. How are you a they? What the fuck does that mean? It's stupid is what it is.
Yeah.
But you need someone like me that looks like me to say it. Because if you say it, it turns into you're homophobic, you hate trans people, you hate gays. And it's just how you feel. You don't hate anyone. You just think it's stupid.
You don't hate anyone. You just think it's stupid is the best way to go about any opinion in life.
I'm saying there's been a societal standard, one that's biologically based, for millennia, which we've now changed, and we're punishing people who don't agree. So you may think it's disrespectful for someone to not use the pronouns that you demand. I think it's equally disrespectful to demand that somebody live in a spectrum that hasn't been agreed to and they don't even understand.
What businesses have been put out? Who's been put out of business for not using the right pronouns?
Oh, in the UK, this happens all the time. In Canada, you know, Bill
can
C-16.
you name a specific business?
Yeah, and Bill C-16 in Canada is really important. For example, we have comedians who've been put before human rights tribunals
So
for
Canada
using improper
recognizes
pronouns.
a third gender, though.
Yeah, Canada does.
Legally recognizes
Yes.
a third gender. So
Yeah.
the law is their legal standard. That's their societal standard, right?
I see this so much, especially online, where LGBTQ people expect people to respect them, but don't respect other people's religion, or if they are just not in the LGBTQ community, which is so not fair and toxic.
Instead of using the typical mom and dad parent titles, there's actually gender-neutral and non-binary parent titles that exist. Here are some examples. Pom-pom, Zaza.
Yeah, I don't think me or anyone from my generation could have done that with our parents. What in the hell did you just call me?
Are you kidding?
And that's why people start to fight back, and that's why people object.
And your attempts to regulate my language use and
I don't care about your language use. I care about the safety of the people who are being harmed.
I know people who make your kinds of arguments are always concerned with other people's safety.
I'm concerned with my own safety. Just so that people are aware, my physical, emotional life and livelihood is at risk from being here. And that's not true of everyone.
In comparison to mine, say.
I don't know about yours because
Yes,
I don't
you do.
live
You know
your life.
perfectly well about mine.
I do
You
know that you have
about the
tenure
letter.
and that.
Keep your kids off of social media. These groomers and predators are sick.
Let's begin with you. Why are you against the use of alternate pronouns?
I'm against the use of legislation to determine what words that myself and other people are required to utter.
But would you use alternate pronouns if a student asked you to?
I think I've made my position on that clear already.
Well, perhaps not to our audience at home who are just being introduced to this. Would you use alternate pronouns? And why not?
Because I don't believe that other people have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
Well, no one has the right to force others to use incorrect grammar/language when speaking to them. This coercion is nothing but brainwashing.
Who gets questioned about pronoun use? I don't know why the hell I use the pronouns I use. I use them because they're part of the language. I use he and she because that's what everyone uses. Well, why do we in fact use pronouns? And we use them in part for the same reason that we use other categories, and that's to simplify the world for functional purposes, roughly speaking. But then I was thinking, well, is the use of he and she a mark of respect? And the answer to that is, well, no, it's not a mark of respect. It's a mark of basic categorization. And so then the claim comes up, well, if someone wants you to use a particular pronoun, then you're disrespecting them if you don't. It's like, well, that assumes that when I'm using he or she for people in normal parlance, that I'm actually indicating my respect for them. And that's not true. It's like if I don't know you, I classify you generically, and basically I classify you in terms of how you present yourself publicly. I suppose that's your gender expression. And then I nail you with whatever pronoun seems to fit. It has nothing to do with respect. And besides that, you bloody well don't get to demand my respect. Why should you? I mean, it's not like I respect everyone. That's a foolish thing to do. You respect people who are respectable. You make value distinctions between people, and that doesn't mean you illegally discriminate against them. Those aren't the same thing.
So, pronouns are a way to broadly categorize people you're referring to, because you can't be bothered to learn or even say their actual given names. And now, the woke want their pronouns to separate themselves from broad categorization and be referred to specifically, personally, and individually when that's exactly what pronouns were invented to avoid. So, here is the final word on the argument against those wanting their pronouns. No, pronouns exist, so people don't have to remember your unique identity in the first place.
What do you feel if Usain Bolt suddenly identified as a woman?
That's a ridiculous question.
Oh,
and you know
why?
it is. Come on, that's
Why?
silly. Because you can't wake up tomorrow morning and decide that you're a woman and start competing.
It's literally what Leah Thomas has done.
It takes 2 years. In the UK, it takes 2 years.
It takes
to be
1 year
approved by
to qualify
2
in
doctors and you need a
athletics, right?
certificate.
So Usain Bolt could potentially, within a year, with a bit of reduced testosterone treatment, he could sprint against women.
A huge reduction in testosterone.
Yeah,
A huge.
it makes no difference to body mass or size or power.
But it would
or
change.
speed.
It would alter everything. If
So would you be fine with that?
If he suddenly did, well, if that's.
You respect his right to be a woman.
Ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but not for the reasons you think.
But
Because it could happen. And you think it's fair.
That's obscene. That is obscene.
Would you be happy if Usain Bolt identified as a woman and began winning the races against women by 2 seconds?
You're making an extreme argument out of what are people's lives.
It's happening with Leah Thomas.
And that's a big part of this argument is queer people just want to be seen and recognized in the way that they see themselves.
But that's impossible.
I don't think it's impossible. I mean,
especially when it's fluid. I have a friend. She wanted me to talk about this. Her name is Megan. She works for the LA School District. She's a counselor, and they are walking on eggshells every day because they have children who are gender fluid, who go back and forth.
Can I ask why you put air quotes around that, as if gender fluid people don't exist?
Even
though it's not your experience?
Because I just personally don't believe in it.
Okay, so because it's not your experience and you don't believe in it, other people may not be like that.
Well,
that's really not a strong argument at all.
To
ask a question then, how can you perceive someone the way they want to be seen if every day they're...
Exactly, that's the point.
That's the thing is, that's why people are saying, these are my pronouns.
Honestly, just ignore the pronoun people. They can't take being ignored. They can't take that they aren't special in any way.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman anymore, would you then relent and say, I'm not a woman?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
But you are relying on other people to tell you who you are, is what we're establishing.
For context, I know you like to say, everybody's rah-rahing and supporting transgender people, and yet they're still killing themselves, etc. But I'm standing here in a room full of people applauding you and asking questions like, how can I put out legislation here in New Mexico, my home state I grew up in, to try to reverse transgenderism? I'm not safe. And it
How are you not safe? You just said you're standing in a room with people who disagree with you and you're perfectly fine. So how are you not safe? Okay, look, we're going round and round here. Yeah, we're going round and round here. Yeah, we're going round and round here. Yeah.
If that laugh is not a glimpse of his mental state, I don't know what is.
Professor Peterson, I teach students. I teach trans students. And I'm asked often to call people singularly they. And my general feeling has been, whatever they ask, just go with it. And let's change our usage of the pronoun. How would you know which students to discount as opposed to which ones to go along with?
Okay, well, first of all, I wouldn't know, but I have to be responsible for what I say based on my willingness to take responsibility for my judgment. So I would be willing to do that despite the fact that I might be wrong. But that's not the issue for me. The issue is now I'm compelled by law to do so. It's like, no, not doing it. Not now, because it's compelled by law.
One more thing to say, because
Sure.
I'm not going to take up any more space.
Okay.
Are you saying psychological theory has nothing to teach us about this? Because you're talking around my question.
Generally, the devil's in the details, right? You have all these students, and you have to make a judgment in the moment that is dependent on the variables that present themselves in a very complex way in that situation.
For those who still don't know, he said he would say a student's pronouns if asked personally, but he completely fights the ideology, which forces speech by law, and rightfully, he does so.
This interviewer destroyed this non-binary liberal.
Good afternoon to you, Shivani.
Good afternoon, Julia. You know my pronouns are they, them. How are you doing?
Yeah. I use correct grammar, so I'm not being rude. You can choose your pronouns. You can choose what you want to call yourself, but you don't get to require me to use incorrect grammar. You're not a plural. You're a one person. You're a female person, so I will use she and her. Thank you very much.
I'm just making sure people know in case they're watching and they want to refer to me respectfully.
Is it disrespectful for me to use correct factual grammar?
You chose to use the incorrect pronouns for me.
I
I've
chose
just
to use the
corrected you.
correct pronouns for a single woman who is appearing on my show.
I'm not a single woman though. I'm a very special non-binary trans person.
I think most are pretty tired of this nonsense. Good for the interviewer for being correct.
I saw the other day a person saying, "Don't call me he or she, call me they." And I was like, what the f***? It took me 3 years to learn I am, you are, he is, she is. This whole gender neutral pronoun, it's confusing for me. Let me tell you a story. I invited a friend to have dinner at my house the other day. And he was like, "Oh, I'm bringing a friend." And I said, "Of course, bring him." He was like, No, bring them. So I bought a lot of food. I bought briskets and pizzas and pastas. And my friend showed up at my house with one person. So I said, "Where are they?" And he said, "They are here." So you tell them that they're gonna eat all of this food.
Major props to this guy. He learned a new language and then became a successful comic in that language. That's not an easy task.
And I refuse to participate. I'm not adopting your language. I'm not respecting your preferences because you don't own reality. You don't own grammar. You don't own definitions. You don't get to tell me. You're not important enough to provide me with an instruction manual on how to talk. Are you kidding? How important do you have to think you are to list at the bottom of your emails? And yeah, I see you laughing about it. It's hilarious, isn't it? But what are the consequences for not abiding by it? What are the consequences? What would happen in this chamber if I were to address Representative Finke? Need I continue? What would the consequences be?
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Exactly. Thank you.
He's right. I'm so tired of the nonsense and the foolishness. I don't understand why nobody can check the ends. Everyone respects the 100 different genders. But the second peers tells him he's not a cis anything. He refuses to stop calling him cisgendered. Well, there you have it. This debate on pronouns got everyone talking. No matter where you stand, it's clear that open conversations are important. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe for more.